So today I'm gonna throw. I've been really busy. I've been busy developing like a new form and working with a company um, to make a coffee pour over carafe. And so I've been busy throwing these things like over and over again and trying different like methods and stuff, and kind of come up with a solid design now. And so yeah, I've been busy doing that, and I didn't bother filming any of it just because, I don't know, it would be pretty boring to watch me just explore a style over and over again. So, but I kind of got like a routine now and kind of a good system. So I figured I would share that with you guys, and that is going to be what I'm doing today. I'm going to throw some bases and some pour-overs today, and then tomorrow, if it's dry enough, I'll attach everything together, and then I'll make one big video just about it. So I figured today I'll just film myself throwing one of the forms, or maybe two, and then throwing the filter part, the cone, and then yeah, just pulling some handles and stuff for tomorrow, and throwing the spouts and everything. So I'm down to my last 25 pounds of clay, so, or at least the clay that I normally use. I still have about 100 pounds of some other clay that I sometimes use. So, but yeah. So I'm gonna throw some of those, and you guys can see what it looks like. It's a really cool type of thing, you know. The coffee pour over is a good idea. There's just the single cup in the mug, but if you've got company over, or you're going to be hitting that coffee pretty hard, then a carafe with a pour over is a great idea. It's kind of in the style of like a Chemex, if you've ever seen that. It's kind of like the gold standard for pour over carafes. So I'm going to throw one of those, a couple of those, and put it all together, and you can see what it looks like. And those will be available, this holiday season, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, let's get to it. So what I've got is I've got 2.5 pounds of clay here. The body I throw with 2.5 pounds, and then the cones I throw with 3/4 pound, but I cut a lot of that off, so the whole thing ends up being about 2.5 pounds, 2 3/4 pounds of clay used. So yeah, let's get started. So if you can imagine the form that I'm going to use, it's kind of like a almost like a vase, and then the cone that I attach on the top, that's the pour over part. So I add a spout and handle after these parts are assembled. So I do those the next day. It's been really humid here, so things that normally take a day are taking like 5 days. And it's really annoying, but there's not a whole lot I can do. I can't run a heater or fan out here all day to mitigate it, but that's the Pacific Northwest for you. It's a little soggy this time of year. So just center up our 2.5 pounds of clay here. We center a little tall. These don't all have to be the same shape. You know, I've got a little bit of liberty there, but they're all pretty much similar. So just opening down. These aren't trimmed on the bottom, so opening down fairly low. curious about the depth at which you are, or the thickness on the bottom, you can always grab your needle tool, poke it through. You can see that's about 1/4 inch, which is just about right. So let's go ahead and compress that down. Grab my sponge. Just lift this wall into. Whoop. I'm just going to add some slip down here underneath here to kind of keep these bats in place. Don't want that happening when you're throwing. Okay, so just give it a lift here. Just kind of pulling up that bulk out of the bottom. Cylinder into shape. This is this right here is the basis for all the things that you're going to throw. Well, most of them anyway. It's not a bowl. If it's not a bowl, then you're making a cylinder, so you know. This is all pretty old hat if you've been throwing. Thin out our walls here on our cylinder. Okay. Pretty close now, so probably trim the foot. Start shaping. The shape of these, I'll put some pictures right here so you can see the different shapes that I've done. But the shape I have liberty on. You know, I can shape it the way that I want. The specs that I got from the store that's going to be selling these has more to do with the filter part, because they wanted to use the standard Chemex, I think number 4 filter, and there's other brands that make a number 4 as well. But if it can't use that filter, then you know it's not really useful to the store. So go ahead and shape this out a bit. Where the connection point is important, because when that cone sits on top, I need that connection point to be in a specific diameter, which is 2.5 inches, and I've thrown enough of them now that I can kind of eyeball that. Yeah, we'll just continue shaping this. I just want to get some of this slip off of the outside here. Slip is out of the inside already. So these have a spout and a handle on them. So the form needs to be tall enough for a spout and a handle. And I could make this pretty much any shape, but the more open it is on the bottom, the more liquid is going to sit down in the bottom. It can hold more fluid, and it'll be bottom heavy, which is good for something that's full of hot liquid. You don't want something full of hot liquid to easily tip over. So I've been doing these in this kind of like angled style here, and I like the design. The customer likes the design, so that's what we're going with. I've kind of settled on this as a design. So yeah, this is 2.5 pounds, and it comes up to a point here. I figure 2.5 inches at the opening is enough for you to get a brush inside if you need to brush it out. I don't know, there's not a whole lot in coffee that goes bad as long as it's black coffee. And this is basically a brewer, so cleaning it with a brush is just fine. You're not going to get a whole lot of, bacteria and stuff growing inside of it. So once I've got this form kind of where I want it, I flatten out the top, make sure it's compressed nicely, because it's going to take a joint later. And that's kind of the form. I'll go ahead and touch up the bottom here to the angle. There we go. So yeah, it's kind of just an angled pot. Looks nice, very functional. Most of the work is in the glaze, so I kind of have some ideas on that, and I've been exploring that, so that's kind of what we got now. So I'll throw something like this, and then that's about 2.5 inches, but it's exactly 2.5 inches. So I've got calipers around here somewhere. There we go. And I'll just set these to 2.5 inches. There we go. Just when I throw the lids, I will be able to throw one to that. So I'll go ahead and throw a lid now, or not a lid. I say lid because that's usually what I'm throwing on top of a form, but it's the Pourover spout, Pourover cone filter holder. There we go, filter holder. So I'll go ahead and throw one of those now, and these need to fit a specific filter. This is 3/4 pound. It's kind of the smallest amount of clay that I like to throw from a ball. I find it hard with my hands. My hands are a little bit big, so I find it hard to throw with a less than a 3/4 of a pound ball. So just get this centered up. And I open pretty far down, not quite to the wheel head because I need that stability for when I'm attaching, but close to the wheel head. And I just pull it up in a V. This is This is the tricky part, because it needs to fit that filter, and if it doesn't, the pour-over is pretty much useless. So here we go. This is one of the cones for the top. Trim the bottom up. Measure it. It's a little wide. So come down a little bit more off the bottom. Okay, that's perfect. All right. So there's the body and the lid, or the body and the top, the two parts that are most important for this form. You can see that's it's going to hold a Chemex filter. We'll put a hole in the bottom and attach it tomorrow when it's a little bit stiffer. Yeah. I will go ahead and throw the spout now. The spout is another part of the form that the client or the customer, he wanted a specific style, and you'll see that in the pictures that I put up. It's not anything complicated, it's just they had the best luck as far as drippage concerns with this style of lid in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a brick of clay here, and I'll throw a spout off the hump, because there's not a spout in the world that needs to be 3/4 of a pound. So I'm actually going to throw several off the hump here for the rest of the pour-overs I'm doing today. So I'm just going to quickly center this. So throwing off the hump, if you've never done it before, for anything small, it's the way to go. You can center a large piece of clay and then throw lots of small things off of it. So for a spout, you throw on kind of a, it's kind of a cylinder. It's like a mini vase. So, but it's ballooned at the bottom, and it comes up into a stem. And it's super simple. You do want to get the water out of the bottom of it, otherwise it has a tendency to crack when you attach it. But yeah, so just throw like a cylinder with an expanded bottom, a ballooned out bottom, and then slowly collar in the spout. And when you color in, the wall's going to get thicker, so while you can, get your finger in there and thin out that spout wall. So this is a spout, and you will get very familiar with a spout if you ever do teapots or anything like that. I like to touch up the outside now because you won't be able to do it once you go to attach it. So you kind of want it to be its final form here. And I just, since these are smooth forms, I just smooth them up. Just going to thin out the tip here just a teeny bit more. It's not super important, but alright. So that is a spout off the hump. I usually just take a spare bat, grab my cut-off wire, and I just cut it off the base. And I'll show you how to attach that tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm just going to throw a few more because I'm doing 4 of them tonight, so, or 5 of them. But yeah, so probably just skip to tomorrow, or I'm adding that, or putting everything together. And yeah, I will see you then. It's going to be like magic. Alright, so it's the next day. I left the door to my shed open to see if I could speed along drying, and boy, did it speed along drying. So got a bunch of stuff that's ready to put together now. So I'll go ahead and do that. There's stuff in various stages of drying in here. Some stuff is a little bit wetter than others just because there was direct sun coming in. But we'll try to match things up the best we can. Yeah. So we'll start off mounting some of these cones onto the pieces. I need to just trim some of these beforehand. just to make sure they fit nicely. Actually, that one's pretty good right there, so we'll do this one first. So, to get started, I usually keep it on the wheel head centered. Another nice use of these bats is that you can keep them on the wheel head and they stay centered, or keep them on the bat. So this one looks like it fits just perfect, so we'll do this one. Real simple, you know, standard kind of attaching two pieces together, but in case you haven't seen that before, we'll give it a go. Oh, there it is. So yeah, basically just this doesn't have a hole in it or anything yet, but just score the connection points. I just you know, this clay is pretty wet on this thing, so I'm just gonna give it some nice deep scoring. And then same here. It's important to score and slip, even if it's kind of fresh and goopy, just because it acts as a sealant almost. Even if it's not performing its glue duties, it's still a sealant for when you push it down, when you squeeze these together. And I just use slip for my throwing scraps here. But it, when you squish it down, it squeezes some of the slip out. That way, you know, you have a really good seal, especially on something like this that's going to hold liquid. So once you get the pieces scored and slipped, just make sure they're lined up. I wiggle my pieces together. It really helps. You can see that bead of slip coming out. So I just touch up that seam just by holding it, and I hold it in the inside too. There we go. So that's that connection. And then let's see if I can find my X-Acto blade, which is always missing, which is always a little bit scary. That means there's an X-Acto blade somewhere around here that I might find kind of scarily. Shouldn't be too far though, I was just using it. Need to play the Benny Hill music right now while I look around. Well, I didn't find it, but I did find a scalpel blade, so you won't be able to really see this, but I'm just going to open up a circle in the middle for coffee to drain through. So it's a circle about that big around. I've been thinking about going a little bigger because these filters, and I'll show you those filters. Hold on. this is what the filters look like. It's the Chemex brand, and it's just a nice, I don't know if this is cotton or what, but it's a really nice thick square. And basically you just open it up like that. It's got 3 ply on one side and 1 on the other. And this part, the very bottom of the cone, can sit inside the vessel a little bit. So when I'm making these holes, I try to make it so that there's enough of the filter down inside that it sits really nicely inside of the cone. So just take a little bit more off here. It wasn't sitting quite perfect enough. Just get my finger wet and kind of smooth this over and kind of touch up that inner joint while you're in there. I know it looks wobbly, but part of that is the bat not sitting all the way down in there. But let's see how this looks. Alright, yep. That'll do. So that is the cone part added. So let's work on the spout. So after you throw your spout, you know, you've got this little whatever, this shape, little bud vase shape. And when you're lining it up, you want to kind of superimpose, kind of look from the side and kind of judge with one eye the angle that you want to put into this to make it the right angle for the spout. I like to put my spout at about maybe just under a hair under 45 degrees. So just slice through here, just a starting point. And then once you got your starting point, fine tune it. Just going to clean this up a little bit. You can see these spouts are not quite as set up as the cone was. And then you just kind of dry fit it. Let's see if we can get a little example of that here. Okay, so the angle's good, but we need to take a little bit off the top and the bottom there to really get it seated in there. So just take a hair off here. And here. Okay, just a little bit more. And when you do this, I angle it towards the inside so that the curvature of it matches up with the curvature of the side of the pot here. So let's see how this looks. Okay, that looks pretty good. So once you got it to this point, you want, when you're adding a spout, you want the bottom of the spout to be at height of where you want the coffee to come out. So that way, when you're pouring your coffee, it doesn't, or when you fill up your coffee filter and pot and everything, it doesn't come shooting out. Like if you put it down here and you filled it up to like right here, it would just come pouring out. So you want the top of your spout to be about level with where the top of the water line would be. So I just have to look at it this way. If you look dead on, you can get a better idea. And I just kind of squish it a little bit into there. And once I've got it kind of lined up where I want it, I just take my needle tool and score around the connection point so I know where to score and slip and cut the hole. There we go. So we'll put that to the side for now. So we've got our rough shape there. We know the thickness of that spout, so we can go ahead and make an inner line here. And this is what we'll cut out. So just take your scalpel or your X-Acto blade. Wish I knew where mine was. I'm sure I'll find it in the most gruesome way possible, but just cut around that inner line. Remove that piece. And then get to scoring and slipping. I do have a scoring tool, so let me grab that big saw while I was looking for my X-Acto blade. And this is just a couple of wires, a couple of sharp wires. Okay, and we'll score this one. Grab some slip. Get it nice and juicy. Same with the body here. Put some slip on there. Make sure you're filling in those, when you put your slip on, make sure you're filling in all those score marks. Because you don't want this coming back off or leaking. Alright, so I'm going to line this up again so it's nice and straight. And just I support this side with my hand because this can deform the body when you're wiggling this on. And just wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And eventually it'll catch and it won't wiggle and the slip won't come out anymore. So you just touch up the edge. This. Make sure when you do this that the slip is filling up that entire edge crack. You do not want this cracking when you bisque and glaze fire it. I just got done spraying 8 of these with glaze, and you can probably hear my kiln clicking in the background. It's out there clicking away. So we ought to post some pictures on Reddit and whatnot of the finished product, or if this video doesn't get edited tonight, I might be able to put some pictures of a finished one as the thumbnail, but I'm going to try to get this edited tonight. So now the spout itself, well, it's going to be hard to do so you can see it on camera, but let's see if maybe you can see it from that side. So like to kind of, and these are a little bit set up here, but I like to cut the spout. It not only makes it a little bit fancier looking, well, if I was doing it so that I could see what I'm doing, not only does it make it a little bit fancier looking, but this cut spout shape with this angle here, it does serve a purpose, and that purpose is when you are pouring, liquid builds up in here first, and this acts as a funnel to shoot the liquid out. If you leave it as a funnel shape at the tip, it has a tendency to, once you're done pouring, to start falling down here. But if you have it so that the funnel's pressure is released back here, it's less likely to drip. So, cutting it like this and making sure that the termination point of the spout is sharp, has a sharp edge, will help cut off those drips, and you won't dribble as much. So it kind of looks like that, and you just touch it up with a sponge. Make sure you get that spout nice and sharp there. Yeah, so that's the spout, and I need to extrude some handle parts. I extrude the main piece, or the main shape of the handle, and then I pull it from there. So I will do that. I will see you guys in a minute. I'll go ahead and prepare that. Alright. So these are just some extruded, when you buy an extruder, it comes with a handle die, and this is the large handle. On its own, it's pretty meh, but with a little bit of pulling, you can make it all right. So this is the handle style that the customer liked. So this is the handle style that the customer will get. I did some originally with just a pulled handle, and he liked the extruded handle better. So this is basically taking a shortcut. You extrude just like a 6-inch long piece, and then you can just pull it like you're pulling it off of a lump of clay. It adds character, dimension. You always want your handles to taper. Well, I always want my handles to taper because they look better that way. This clay that I'm using for the handles, I actually ran out of this red clay last night. Used my last little bit of it, and so this is from one of the forms that I threw yesterday. I wedged it back down and kind of recycled it. I had to sacrifice one of the pieces for that, but what are you gonna do? I was gonna go this Saturday to the ceramic supply, but had some family stuff I had to do instead, so next weekend hopefully I'll be able to go get some more clay. I do have some yellow clay that I can use this week, so it's not a big deal, but nothing like going to make your handles and realizing, oh shoot, I used my last bit of clay. I used my last bit of clay to throw these forms. So just pulling like you would a normal handle. This does have a couple bubbles in it, but it shouldn't be a problem. It's really stiff because the clay wasn't, or was set up a little bit, so just go ahead and try to get as much length out of this as we can. I did pull a couple extras, so if I screw up one, no big deal. Yeah, I'm just going to pull this down. You've probably seen someone pull a handle before. Nothing new here. So that one's a little short, so I might need to use it on a smaller shape if I have one. Try to get some more length out of this one. Doesn't seem to have as many dry spots in it, so yep, this is a pull and a handle. The nice part about it being really stiff clay is that I don't have to wait as long to attach them. So I'll just pull a couple of these handles really quick, and then I'll cut to me adding them on. I'm gonna go ahead and attach all the other pieces and everything to the other forms that I threw, and then that should be just enough time for these handles to set up enough to attach them. So nothing special here. If you've pulled one handle, you've pulled 1,000, so it is a shortcut to extrude the main form first. So a little tip there for you if you like pulled handles but you have an extruder, you can take the shortcut. Should be just about right. So yeah, I'll just cut it here. I'll do the rest of these handles, let them set up while I put the rest of the stuff together, and then I'll see you when I come back with the handles. So, all right, so it's been about an hour. I got all the pieces put together on all of these. So yeah, let's go ahead and add some handles. So, got my handles that I pulled earlier. And I've got a little bit of extra clay here too for some like little embellishments and stuff. So just gonna go ahead and pick some handles here and see what we can do. So when I attach my handles, I kind of judge where it's gonna go on the form here. And I kind of cut an angle for that. So, kind of have my handle here, and I think I'm going to go like this. So, I'm going to line it up with the spout, because of course you're pouring opposite the spout. So, there's a trick to do this kind of exactly, and that's use like a straight edge. Like I've got a square here, and I'm just going to line up the square with the spout like that, and then kind of line it up on the form opposite. Choose where you're going to have it. So you just kind of mark around where the handle is, so you know where to score. So yeah, that's where the handle's going to go there. So yeah, it's just like adding a handle to anything else. You score and slip. Score, 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 score. Nice and deep. Score, 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 score. For a nice big form like this, you can mushroom out the tip here so that it has kind of a bigger connection area, and it's a nicer, kind of tapers it more dramatically towards the connection point. So go ahead and do that. Grab some slip down in your catch pan. Slippity slippity slip. And then wiggle it on. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And you know when you're done wiggling when it kind of holds without you wiggling anymore. So just wiggle it on when it stops moving around as much and it seems like it's caught, and you're done. Looks kind of like that. There's slip squeezed out all the way around. And just make sure you're lined up with your spout. Got one last look over. And then you've got to choose your termination point. So for this, I'm going to terminate like right here, right at the where the angled part is. So just you can just score there. Score, score, score. And then you want to adjust your handle so that it meets right there. Get some slip. And this is all just normal attaching stuff, you know, like if you're doing a mug or something. You just make sure that your handle is nice and straight. And then go ahead and press it into place. All that slip squeezed out nice. Touch it up here. Kind of press it into place. Make sure all your slip is filling that crack, that void between where the handle and the body are. Like that. And then just take your sponge and go over the joint. So for these, luxury goods, I like to add a little something, maybe like a thumb rest is nice for something heavy like this that you're pouring out of. So I have this extra clay here from some handles that I didn't end up using, and I like to, and it looks nice when the glaze breaks over it too. Just squeeze out something here, kind of like I'm doing kind of a teardrop or a kind of like a, let's say, teardrop shape. And then this will make like kind of like a nice rest. So I'm just gonna score up the where it's gonna attach, and then this is really dry clay, so you're gonna moisten it up a bit, get some of these cracks out of it. Make sure it's nice and smooth first, and then you can just press it down a bit, because you don't want it super thick. It's just an embellishment. And then we'll score this. Grab some slip from our catch pan. Slip this up. Make sure it gets into all the crackies. And then support the handle. The handle's a little floppier than this piece of clay, so kind of support the handle while you do this. And squeeze it into place. Refine the shape of your handle, you know, make sure that it looks nice before you set this out to dry. And then just go over it with your sponge a little bit. And got kind of like a thumb rest with a, you know, nice form to it. Yeah, that's kind of it. That's the handle, that's the little embellishment on the handle, and I think that'll work real nice. If you're ever in doubt about the, you know, functionality of your handle, you can always, as it's green, you know, hold it, and if that feels like it's good, then it's probably going to be good once it's fired too. So, you know, it shrinks about 10% between now and the glaze firing. So if you hold it like this and there's about 10% of wiggle room, you're golden. So that's the completed form right there. We'll set these out to dry, and yeah, fire them up. For these, when the filter's on here, it makes kind of a it's kind of airtight when you put the filter to coffee and you start pouring water on there. So the company wants some air holes like right above the handle here. So what I do is I take I got like a little hole poker. This is just a cheapo, comes in like I got it for Christmas last year. You know, it comes in like an Amazon mega pack of tools or whatever, but you can find these. They're just like hole cutters, and what I do is I just put a couple holes right above the handles here. It'll let air escape as it's filling with coffee, and you don't gotta worry about it backing up. It allows air to escape as it fills. Kind of a neat little workaround to having that thing kind of just really slowly wait for air to escape out of the spout. But yeah, so that's the completed form. Go ahead and do all the rest of these, and thank you for watching.